I'm here today with Paul of Origin to talk about the latest record, Chaosmos. How's it going with you?
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So let me start off by asking you this. What do you see as the biggest growth of the band from the debut record all the way to this album right now?
Oh, well, we're a lot older.
And why
yesterday was the 25-year anniversary from the first practice I ever had with Jeremy Turner. So just a different mentality, mindset, basically a lot of the earlier stuff was just, I call it bang, bang, shoot 'em up action movie albums where I work with more, which is an exciting thrill ride. Those are exciting, very fast, shorter albums, but I went for more compositional dynamics, kind of like I could call it like plot depth, like in a movie, like, a lot of action movies, are just, they're just all shoot 'em up, bang, bang. And then like to make a really good movie, you need like a good plot and some dynamics and some twists and turns. So, I mean, I still feel like there's still 30 minutes of bang, bang, shoot 'em up, all blast beat craziness, but that, to make an album, I feel anyway, interesting for an Origin listener is to make it longer and create some new twists and turns that I hope I've achieved on every album. I want it to sound like Origin, but I want them to all have their each individual identity. You know what I mean?
Is the 25 years of the band something that you're perhaps most proud of? Like when you started the band, did you think you guys going to be around for 25 years?
I don't think so. I feel like I always felt like I was a death metal lifer, if that makes any sense. Like the scene. I remember when there was a time when even Cannibal Corpse was like on the Bile tour. They're like, thanks to you, without death metal will never die. You know what I mean? They were saying that to the crowd. You know what I mean? There was a lull in the mid '90s, and even Obituary and Suffocation, they technically broke up, some big name bands in the genre, but I always, I remember when in the mid '90s when a lot of people weren't going to the death metal shows anymore. Some of the bands were watering it down. The albums weren't as good, you know what I mean? They changed styles, which I wasn't really into. I always felt like I was a death metal lifer. For me to continue, the easy part is making the music. I mean, the hardest part was we were all young and aggro death metal guitar players, and so we had some conflicts in early days, and now like we've all grown up and like, man, we were just stupid kids, you know what I mean? So arguing over stupid stuff, so, and unfortunately lost some members doing that, but almost everyone that has been a part of Origin is still family. I mean, like I still have barely communicate with some of the members, but we all, after all the years, the last time we talked, was on good terms.
So you mentioned that you gotten older. I'm assuming you also gotten wiser. How much of I hope. I mean, how much of that getting older and wiser has impacted the way you look at writing music?
Well, I wish that I could be in a band like AC/DC and have a 4 riff per song format and it worked. And I'm glad there's bands out there like that it does work. I don't think our fan base, would be interested in that. You know what I mean? I mean, I feel like I wrote Chaosmos it's crazy, but yet it's catchy. You know what I mean? I tried to make a very catchy album. I used to think about, I just wanted to melt faces and annihilate the people right in front of me. But now I'm thinking about the guy in the back who maybe isn't getting in the pit. You know what I mean? It's a little too old to get in the pit anymore. But he wants to.
It's interesting that when you said the guy in the back that's too old to get into the pit, you looked at me differently. So I'm assuming you're talking about guys like me.
Well, hey, I'll say this. I mean, there's got, we were all in the pit growing up, and you know what, that shit hurts nowadays. But we've done, we've done, so the one great thing is that I noticed throughout Origin's career is that even though like there's some purists and all this, I mean, like, now the new thing is the retro death metal sound, you know what I mean? But that, there for a moment, it was the metalcore, the deathcore. And, what I was noticing, and we were playing with, we played with, even in the early days when like death metal was kind of waning, we played with Dillinger Escape Plan, Days Today, Mastodon, and then we played with grindcore bands, Numb and Flesh Parade and stuff like that. Then we started jamming and playing in like metalcore bands, and it was like, what we noticed is that it was like less receding hairlines and beer bellies and more like bang hangers and the plugs and the tattoos on the arms, but we were having those new blood into the scene, you know what I mean? And even now, I think there's like even a third, I would consider it a third generation of death metal. Like it's different than what the second generation is to me. Personally, my thinking, I think it's kind of a metalcore, deathcore, techcore or something. I don't even know what you call it anymore. But that there's a new blood in the scene, and anytime there's new blood, that just means the scene's bigger. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of death metal out there. I mean, like when we were out there touring, there was a lot of bands competing for time.
When it comes down to this record, and you look at the final result, and you have perhaps an opportunity to reflect on that final result, is this album the work of inspiration within the moment, or is something that you see that grows and evolves until it reaches that final stage?
Well, to make it short, I mean, basically, we were going on tour in 2020, and then the world stopped, and then I sat there and created a timeline thinking, like, hey, I want to have an album out if the world is opened up the summer of 2022. So that meant around March of 2021, I had to start writing because I needed to be in the studio by January so that the album could be out in May, June, or, roughly, just building a rough timeline. So I put a pressure on myself to write a song per month. And then we don't even know what the album sounds like until we find everything's done, because it's written separate. It's never rehearsed live. It's put together in the studio. So it's a surprise to us all. But I feel like we achieved an album that reflects the band that we are today, with the members, this is our third album with this lineup continuously, and like we have a kind of a symbiosis going. And I felt like although the album recording our albums is challenging, I felt like it was a good reflection of the band where it is today, and I'm proud of all the albums. But right now, it's like the newest baby, so it's getting the most attention. To me, I don't listen to Origin regularly. I just play to it.
What do you see as perhaps the greatest attribute that this album will have?
I feel like it expanded like some of the wider horizons. I mean, there's like it showed some of our influences in it. Like there's Nostalgia for Oblivion. That's kind of my ode to Slayer and Bolt Thrower, which are two of my favorite bands that are no more. It's a little different sounding and rhythmic, and heavy. I mean, there's a black metal song in Coalscape. There's a throwback, kind of my tribute to like LG and Jesse Pendato. Like I called it Clandestine Corruption before we came up with the name Decolonizer, which is kind of like, my tribute to Entomb, Clandestine, and Napalm Death, Harmony, Corruption. There's just a lot of catchy stuff on this album that and like I said, it kind of expanded the horizon. Who knows? We might put out a Doom song next album. I don't know.
Oh, wow, that would be quite the departure, but it would, I'm sure it would be interesting.
Well, we'll see. I'm not there yet.
I thought you were going to add core at the end of that and call it like a doom core. I mean, people are
Yeah,
throwing core
well,
into everything these days, you know?
yeah, you know, sure. I'll try to come up with some haunt core or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. Spooky core.
Fuzz core. I think fuzz core should be.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, or sludge core.
Yeah.
You mentioned the recording was one of the most challenging elements of making this album. Was that because of the pandemic? Was because of the way you guys took the approach of recording this record? Is that what made it challenging?
I mean, it was a little different because we usually, you know, like we didn't get together at all. You know, usually I see the guys on the road and they hear me playing new material during sound check or something, and you know, basically I just wrote an album to a click track that was all stock, and then we had 2 weeks to sit there and build the drums, and then John had to go in the studio in 5 days and track things that maybe he barely even remembered practicing because he's taken in 45 minutes worth of material and in 2 weeks and trying to remember parts, you know what I mean? So luckily, like I said, it's very difficult, it's very challenging, you know, but like I said, we've been jamming together for quite some time now with this lineup, and I've been jamming with Johnny and Mikey for over 20 years, and Jason now over a decade even. So, you know, so we have it's always stressful because the pressure's on, you know what I mean, and we all want to be our best. So, but you know, like I said, I'm happy with the results. I think everyone's happy with it. You know, at first we're always like, I don't know, is it good, is it bad, and I don't know. We're hearing it the first listen too. So
You mentioned earlier that you're a death metal lifer. So when it comes to your guitar sound coming into this album, is there something that you wanted to perhaps tweak, change it up?
I wanted to, well, we always have problems trying to get the bass cut through the mix because Mikey's a finger player, and that was more my concern. I mean, John has an idea of how he wants the drums to sound, and I always like the fact that everything's not just quantized and computerized. It's actual snare hits, it's not sound replacement. I mean, the kicks are sound replacement, but they're actual him playing the kicks, you know what I mean? So but the toms and the cymbals and the snare, they're real life, you know, like it's and we also you know, the guitar cabs are actually microphoned, and so is the bass rig. We did do a DI. There is always a DI out on the bass, but I did do a plug-in just to get a little bit more grit in the guitar. Because of my playing style, it's sometimes I call it white noise, and it doesn't get all the notes. So, or not the notes, but sometimes you can't hear the right hand, like it just becomes a blur and you can't really hear the scratching of the pick going back and forth. So I mean, it's hard when everything is going a million miles per hour to get a little articulate piece, and we always wish we had more time for mix and mastering, but there's budgets and deadlines, and so that's kind of the way it is. You get what you get. It, you know, you can't change it. You can only hope to make the next one better if there's a next one.
There's always, for you guys, I think there's always going to be a next one. Now, now, when it comes to the lyrical content, when do you start to bring that into the mix of the overall creative process?
Well, basically over the years, you know, like I present songs like, I mean, I can go back to earlier albums like Finite. My grandmother passed, and I wrote that song with the idea of we're all mortal, we all are finite, we all will die. And basically I presented the music and I was like, this is what I was thinking when I wrote this song. This is what my emotions were, and here's some phrasings or whatever. And so, like, you know, that's been going on since, you know, way back then, even before then, you know what I mean? But that was just an example. But, you know, like I'll come up to Jason and he has some song or titles that he would like to use. And as do I. You know, like I was, you know, like Panopticon, you know, he had, you know, like I was talking about the, you know, I just found amazing concept of like the mirrors and the paranoia within. And then, you know, like Chaos Most, I was very adamant. I fought for that title and for like the album title pretty hard, like really hard. It caused some problems, but I just felt like it was a unique word, hasn't been played out. There wasn't much use of it, and I liked what it means. And I feel like it represented, like when I was writing the album, I felt like that was the song, or that was the title in my head. The order through destruction, you know what I mean? Like it's organized yet chaos, you know what I mean? So, which I feel like is a good representation, because we do come out of the gate blistering like Origin, and then we bring some new stuff that is a little bit more catchy, maybe some different tempo changes, just to create a different vibe and mood on a new album, you know. So, you know, some people will love it, some people will hate it, some people I don't know, maybe they'll, you know, it's funny, like people sometimes bag on our albums, and they come up to me, he's like, man, I really made a mistake about one of your albums. I like bagged it really hard when it came out because it wasn't what I wanted to be. And I went back and listened to it later just to listen to it, and I was like, and you know, they thank me for like creating a different album that, you know, I feel like Origin tries to create a new path on every album.
Yeah, I don't think you guys are one of those bands that has two albums that sound the same. Like there's definitely, I don't know if you would call it an evolution per se, but there's definitely a different step that you've taken with every record, and no step looks the same as the previous one. So that's definitely something you guys have going for you.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship with that, but that's part of the joy and anguish of songwriting, I guess.
Now, as a diehard death metalist, or you said a lifer, what doors haven't you opened yet with Origin that you hope to still be able to open in the future?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we pretty much played almost everywhere that you can play. I mean, I always enjoy going back to the rare places, and I enjoy like our extended fan base and friends and family throughout the world, you know. As far as live, I don't know. I mean, like, I just like it. I don't know. I don't know what the next chapter is yet. You know what I mean? I haven't, this chapter is still so new that I don't know what direction, you know, to go with for the future of Origin. You know, I mean, I will hopefully create something that's unique and has a unique perspective to the genre. You know, at the end of the day, I'm still like an old school death metal guy. You know, I mean, I just always played fast. You know, I mean, I grew up with that. You know, my first 5 tapes were like Slayer, Celtic Frost, Possessed, Voivod, and Creator, and then like, you know, I started hearing like DRI and Cryptic Slaughter and Accused, so I kind of, and then Napalm and early Carcass, and you know what I mean, Deicide, Suffocation, you know what I mean. So I just went through continually getting heavier and heavier, and then it kind of watered down, and then I, you know, found a group of guys that were trying to create a new form of death metal, and that's where Origin came to be. And you know, so I don't know what the next chapter holds yet, because I'm still in the beginning aspects of Chaos Most. You know, we usually do quite a bit of touring. Right now we don't have nothing set up and confirmed, but I think that will change hopefully soon. Like to go everywhere at least once that we've toured in the past, and maybe new territory or two. But as far as creativity, I don't know what the next chapter is. You know what I mean?
How, speaking of being on the road, speaking of touring, how was the tour with Misery Index?
Well, we did a 2-part tour. They did the first leg. We toured multiple times with those guys, and so they're easy to work with. You know, like I toured with Jason Netherton when he was in Dying Fetus too. So, you know, I'm very familiar with those guys and great to work with. And then we, you know, we had some new blood with Wolf King and Wake, and then the second leg of the tour, we toured with Abysmal Dawn, and it was our 4th tour with Abysmal Dawn. like I said, we toured with them many times, and then we had some new blood that we've never toured with Tombs and Killitorous. So, you know, it was just good to be back on the road. There was so many tours at the time. So much competition with, you know, so it was a challenge. And, you know, it was a challenge. The first week I wasn't used to the rat race of being on the road, but I eventually got back into it, you know. So we did like 42 shows in 45 days. And, you know, like it was, you know, it was grueling. We did a little bit DIY this time. So,
well, it was nice of you guys to taking some Canadian bands. I'm Canadian, I'm from Toronto, so it's nice of you guys to take some Canadian bands on both legs of your tour. So as a Canadian, I appreciate you guys taking some Canadian content on the road. It's always nice to see that. Doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you know, I first saw it. I think my first Canadian death metal band was Gorguts in '92. So you know, and like we played with Cryptopsy in '98 and toured with them in 2001. You know what I mean? And there's a great, yeah, you know, Canadian. Well, no, I think, okay, I might be wrong. I think I saw Sacrifice open up for Bolt Thrower in '91. Wow. All right, so
wow.
So you know, I don't, you know, I saw Voivod early on too. So I don't remember.
Yeah, you almost deserve Canadian citizenship just by a simulation here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we played with Neuraxis, we've done Despised Icon, Beneath the Massacre, Archspire, Cataclysm. Golly, I can't remember all the Canadian bands, but there's a great
Canadian by association.
Yeah, there's a great musical. There's a great music scene and a great death metal scene in Canada, and a very strong fan base for Origin. So I'm very appreciative of the Canadian metal scene.
One last question for you. Considering the experience that you have, the 25 years of the band, how do you define success within the realm of death metal?
I mean, sometimes, I mean, obviously you got to stay afloat financially, but you know, the thing is like, how appreciative our fan base is, you know, like we may be playing, you know, our albums are very serious, but live, we're more of a fun band, and we're a presentation band. We get the crowd interacting, and like, you know, I may be playing some mean, sinister riffs up there, but I look down, I see a lot of people smiling, having fun, and that's important to me. You know, like I've always said, it's a, you know, positive release of negative energy, and like, you know, sometimes if you hold it all in, it's not that good for you. You know, like could have been a lot. I feel like if I didn't have death metal in my life, I probably would have been in the grave or in the jail cell somewhere. So it definitely helped me, and I think, you know, I enjoy still going to live music. I don't really listen to new music per se, but I can watch any new band live and appreciate it. I still just go to my classic 20 Earache, Roadrunner, and, you know, or all the early stuff releases, you know what I mean? You know, so that's what I primarily listen to. But I go down and I see like a lot of people having fun on our shows, and that's important to me. That's successful to me when people are having a good time on our shows. And
you are basically a classic death metalist. That's perhaps the way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff.
You stay with the classics. You stay with the classics.
Yeah. Live Corruption is like my Bible. I have that on VHS. I pop it in every once in a while just to relive it, being like
to rinse off the bad taste of everything else.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time, man. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time. I hope to see you guys on the road soon. All the best.
All the best to you too. And please, thanks to our fan base for checking us out. And if you can send me a link so I can share it.
Yeah, I will, and I'll tag you guys once the interview goes live. So once again, man, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, all right, man. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.